My name is Chuck Troutwine, and this is part two of a two-part series right now of using Scratch to model fractions. In part one, we went ahead and created a Scratch. Here, I'll show you here, that when we click the code, Scratch goes ahead and draws a unit rectangle here, and then ask how many equal parts, and we can type in any number of equal parts, and Scratch will divide our unit rectangle into that number of equal parts. This is the code that we built, and we did it through a stepwise process where we understood everything as we went along and generalized. We remember when we did this first for fourths, then eighths, then tenths, then found the pattern, and we went ahead and generalized it with a operator and then a variable, where in this case the variable is just the answer to the question, how many equal parts. Okay, so that's sort of a review. One thing that you might want to get into a habit of doing, and that is put comments in your code. It's probably good practice. That way, in a couple of weeks, you look back on your code and you say, geez, what did I do here, and stuff like that. Try to figure out, again, the process that you used. So a trick that coders use is to put comments in. So I'm going to put up here a comment. So to do that, I'm going to click, hold the control key down and click, and then just add comment. And the comment's going to be set up here. This little part of the program is just going to set things up for us. Remember, Scratch had to go to, you started at 0, 0, so he had to go down to -200. Well, go over to -200, then down to -25 y direction. So relative direction to where he was at, point direction 90, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then this part here actually started to draw the unit rectangle. So I'm going to draw unit. There we go. And it doesn't have to be long, just a real quick note there. And then here it's going to go ahead and start to draw the equal parts. So I'm going to add comment here and then draw equal parts. Okay, and there's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's just for you. Us humans, the computer understands the blocks. Sometimes we need reminded as to what we did. Okay, all right, so that's good practice. The other thing is, didn't talk about last time, but we didn't really title this. Right here, you note that I'm signed in as Old Math Teacher. You don't have to be signed into an account to use Scratch. However, if you do create a Scratch account, and then you go ahead and create a Scratch, it automatically saves the Scratch into your Scratch account, okay, which is a good thing. That way you can go back and use it again. It's saved for you automatically. Or right here you have a little share button, and then once you title it, I'm going to title this modeling 2 L's or 1 L. I'm going to go with 1 L, maybe. Okay, I'm sorry. Modeling fractions, part 1 or part 2. Okay, part 2, right? Oops, I didn't like that. Modeling 2 L's, fractions, part 2. There we go. Maybe you didn't like my hyphen there. Okay, well, anyways, I'm not sure. It's 2 L's or 1 L. I'm a math teacher. I should know, but I don't. All right, so now we can go ahead and see project page. And this is, if we share our project, this is where people will land once they click on the project that we shared to see what's going on. Here you can go ahead and put some directions in how to use the Scratch, give credit to whose credit's due, and then click on the share button, and then everyone who has access you share to your account will be able to see your particular Scratch. How I've learned how to Scratch is look at other people's Scratches and say, how did they do that? So I say, click and see inside, and then I can see what the code they used in order to do what they were doing. It's pretty neat. Okay, again, we could talk more about that later on. When we do Scratches in the classroom, usually what I do is I'll set up an account for the whole class and have all the students in that class use that one account. Just makes the classroom management a little bit easier in that regard. But you guys can come up with your own system for that. Okay, so that's a little bit of a review. What we want to do now is have Scratch ask for how many of these equal parts do we want to shade in to sort of model a fraction. Okay, so let's start simple. You know, when we program, when we code, we always want to start simple and work complex. And let's just get Scratch to shade in just one of these equal parts. In this case, what were these? Tenths. So we were 12ths. I'm not sure what these were. Yeah, let's go and do it again. Tenths. That way I know. Tenths. There you go. Use tenths. So we'll just shade in one of these equal parts. And the way we're going to shade it in is we're just going to have Scratch draw a whole bunch of little vertical lines and to kind of shade in that area. And it says, say, we'll shade in this area with 10 vertical lines, okay? So in a sense, what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this process, and in this case, the whole part is going to be this from here to here, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do that. It should be pretty easy. We know that Scratch, let's see, once we run this, again, I'm going to run this so I know where Scratch ends up. He's going to end up right here. What we have to do is move Scratch back to the beginning. We can do that a multitude of ways. There's no one correct way. Yeah, maybe one way might be better than the other. But we can always use the go to x negative 200, y negative 25, and that will bring him back to this point. Or if we know he's here, we can simply go to move, and we know that this distance is 400, so let's just move, let's do some math trickery and move negative 400 steps. Let's see if that works. Yes. Well, no, it didn't work. We're not to that point yet. 10. Yes, it worked. Okay, cool. Okay, all right, so we moved. Okay, so now it's ready to do the 10 or little horizontal lines. Okay, so I'm going to, we know we want 10. So I'm going to go to Control. I'm going to say repeat 10. And we're going to move just a little bit. What's that little bit going to be, though? It's going to be 400 divided by answer divided by 10. Okay. Let's do something here real quick first then. Thinking ahead just a little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to have to put this into a variable, okay? And the reason being is we're just going to shade in one of these equal parts for now, but we're going to have Scratch ask again what's the numerator going to be? How many of these equal parts do we want to shade in? And when we do that, we're going to lose this answer here because it's going to bump out the old answer, put in a new answer. So what we have to do is kind of save this answer, and the only way that I know how to do that is to use a variable. And it's a great opportunity to learn how to use a variable. So I'm going to go to data, and oops, here's a variable already. I should have cleared that out there. Delete variable. Forget that. Just rewind 10 seconds. Let's go to data, make a variable, and we're going to call this variable data. Not data, parts. I'm sorry, Chuck. Get my mind in the game again. Part. All right, and that's simply going to be the distance that that Scratch has to go from here to here for as many of the equal parts as we want. Okay, so we're going to call this variable part, and this be for all sprites. By the way, this would be a good time to mention this if I haven't already. This is very simple Scratch. And Scratch, you can have as many different sprites as you want. And you have scripts that control each sprite, so you can make all kinds of neat Scratch applications and games and so on and so forth. And hopefully, which I'll do some screencasts for some real simple math games that I've done with kids here in Garrett County. But for now, we're only going to worry about one sprite and keep it as simple as we can with just this one sprite. Okay, just that was a good place to say that. All right, back to this particular scratch here. We made a variable, called it part. You see the value of parts up here is 0. I'm going to set part 2. I can do that anywhere right before I ask for a new answer here. I'm going to set part 2, let's go to operators, and I'm going to say 400 divided by answer. Yeah. Remember when I said there's all kinds of different ways of doing things. So I'm going to say 400 divided by answer. And I can have that there. Or I could put it up here and put in here just part. Oh, but that's okay. We'll stick with this. Okay. Now let's go to motion. We're going to move part here. So go to data, move part steps. Nope, we want to move part divided by 10. So we want this operator here. Because remember, we want to divide this part here into 10 subparts. Okay, subparts. So we're going to go here to data after we get the division operator in there, divided by 10. Okay? And let's see, now all we have to do is go to motion. And after we move just 1/10 of that part, we want to draw a vertical line. And that's what we did here, okay? So let's just go ahead and do that again. Actually, that's a great place to make a new command, but we won't right now, okay? But we can make commands. So if we use the same sequence of blocks every time, we can make it like a sub block. It's pretty cool. Anyways, so we're going to go forward 50. That's going to move scratch from the bottom of the rectangle to the top of the rectangle. And then we have to change y by -50 to bring them back down. So the opposite of 50 is -50. Okay. Okay. Just move it back down. And we do this 10 times. Let's see what happens. How many equal parts? I'm going to go with 6 this time. And it should shade in. Yep. One of those 6, it shaded in. Scratch shaded in. Pretty cool. It actually shaded in. It went over this the division bar again. So let's go ahead and make this only 9 times. Just repeat 9 times. But then what we have to do is, in order for Scratch to be set up to do the next shade in, the next equal part, we have to move them over again. So what we're going to do is we have to move them part divided by 10 again. So I could probably copy that, but it's just as easy to reconstruct it. So go to operators, put the division operator in there, it'd be part divided by 10. Okay. And let's try it. You shouldn't notice much of a difference because everything's the same color right now. 6 equal parts, and it's shaded in one of those 6s. Okay. Okay, good. Now, that's good. One of the things, again, it's always good to start simple, work complex, and then say add features as you go along. And say, well, gee, wouldn't it be nice if all the shade in here, these lines that we use to shade in, is a different color? Well, we can do that. Okay. All right. So let's go here and let's go to pen, and here's set pen color 2. Okay. So what we're going to do is set pen color to a different color than what it is before it draws the line, and then move it to change it back after it draws each vertical line. And then since we're changing the pen color down here, we might as well start with the pen color up here. So we're going to set pen color to, oops, I already got that there. So set pen color to blue. Now, in order to get that, what we want to do is click in there and then click someplace on the screen that has the color that you want to assign. Okay, I'll show you down here. So set pen color to, I'm going to click in the box here, and then I'm going to go say I want this to be a nice yellow right there. But then I want to change it back to blue. Okay? Because then I don't want, yeah, so that's what I want to do. I only want to change the pen color when it makes these vertical lines. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and run it, see what happens. How many equal parts? This time I'm going to go with 8, and then it's going to shade in one of those 8s. So here's 1/8 shaded in. Pretty cool. Okay, now that's just one equal part shaded in. So hopefully we understand what's going on with just that one. Let's go ahead and generalize it now. And so we generalize it by first asking how many equal parts to shade in, which is very cumbersome. So let's just ask for numerator. Okay, numerator. And then the answer is going to be put in, oh, well, we don't have a repeat block. Remember, all this here just does one equal part, right? One equal part. So what we want to do is just go to control, and then we're going to repeat all this, gobble up all this. Isn't neat that it kind of figures out what I want to repeat. And then we're going to repeat, let's go back to answer, go back to the sensing commands to pull the answer in right here. So we're going to repeat all this shading in of equal parts, whatever the user puts in there. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, let's try it. So click the code. How many equal parts? I'm going to say 8 equal parts, and I want to shade in 5 of those. Very cool. All right, so should work for any fraction, and pretty much the code is pretty simple for that. I mean, hopefully you followed along, and we can make a couple of improvements yet. One of the ways when we do share this, you want to be able to give the instruction, click on the flag to start. Okay, well, if you click on the flag to start, nothing's going to happen because we didn't tell it to do anything when you clicked on the flag. So let's go to events, and then here's when flag is clicked, do all this. So when flag is clicked, do all this. And then when we're back to the project page, when we click on the flag, it's going to execute the code. How many equal parts is 8. Numerator is 3. Speaking of code, I think I'm getting a code. You hear me sniffle every now and then. Excuse me. Okay. Baby, it's code outside, huh? Just a little programming coding humor there. Okay, but again, in order to do anything to change things, we have to see inside. But while we're here, we could say, click the green flag to start, and then notes and credits. You give credit to who credit's due. See inside, then you can actually make changes to your code again. Okay, one more neat thing that we can do. We can do all kinds of neat things. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have Scratch actually say what fraction he just made here? Woohoo! Yeah, we can do that. Let's see, I'll give you a hint how to do that. And you have to go to looks, and then you could say all kinds of things. Well, it says hello. Basically, what you'd have to do is build the compound string of text that you want Scratch to say. We'll do that in the next example, the next part, which, by the way, our next part is going to be drawing arrays. And of course, arrays are used in 3rd grade to teach multiplication. And so that's a great application of coding in the 3rd grade. And then, of course, arrays can also be used to teach area, perimeter, and all kinds of neat stuff. All right, so I can't wait to do that one. All right, so, but before we do that, one more thing before we leave this fraction thing is, wouldn't it be nice that if once we drew one fraction, illustrated one fraction, to maybe come up here and draw another fraction, and so we can kind of compare fractions? Let's see how we can do that. Again, all kinds of different ways of doing it. The easiest way, I think, is just to control-click on your block of commands that you've already created and say duplicate. Pretty cool. Bring it over here. And let's see. If we want to duplicate it, let's see. We want to duplicate everything but clearing the screen. We don't want to clear the screen because we want to compare fractions. So we're going to kind of break apart this code here. And click and drag this over here to get rid of it. So we don't want to clear screen, but we do want to, we want to start up here. So we want to go over 200, but now instead of going down to 25, let's go up to 50. And that's just, I'm just picking a number. There we go. I think that's good. Okay, so let's try it. Let's see, when flag is clicked, or do this one, how many equal parts? Let's compare eight equal parts, so it would be 5/8. Compare 5/8 to, let's see, how many equal parts? Let's compare it to 7/12. What do you think's more? I don't know. 12 equal parts, 7 loose parts. Okay, so 5/8 is greater than 7/12. Isn't that cool? Now, the neat thing about this is if you're doing this with a class, I mean, of course, it's fun and to do this with your classroom, but maybe you just need a tool to compare fractions. Well, we've just created that tool. And save it in your Scratch account, and it's always there for you whenever you need it. All right, I think that's all I want to say this time around. So thanks for bearing with me, and have fun scratching.